North Korea. What was it like to take those two girls out?
It was humbling, and it was a wonderful feeling. They're really fine young women.
It was a done deal, right?
Well, it was basically, the proposal was that if there were no glitches, if I would come and get them, he would let them go. But they really wanted me to come, and I thought it was interesting because I had two strong confrontations with the North Koreans in my 8-year period.
I remember.
But we also made some real progress, and I developed respectful relations with Kim Jong-il and with his father, Kim Il-sung, because I was very direct with them, very straightforward, no ambiguity. But I never tried to humiliate them in public. I just let them know where we were and what was important and what we were prepared to do to help them. And so for whatever reason, they wanted me to come. So that was the families asked me, and then I told them that I couldn't go unless the president and the administration approved it, that as a former president it would not be appropriate for me to do that. So they debated that. Al Gore was meanwhile trying to go back and forth between the families because the girls worked for him, the young women worked for him. And I must say, I thought everybody did a very professional job in reaching the decision and not leaking the story, the whole 9 yards. Then when I went, I found it utterly fascinating. Now, I have not talked a great deal about what was said. I spent several hours with the leader of North Korea. I found him alert, in better health than most people thought, and clearly in command of the situation, and clearly interested in whether there was some positive outcomes, more positive than the ones that have been generated by their policies to date. But beyond that, I think I shouldn't say anything because I don't have any policy-making authority anymore, and I don't want to inadvertently constrain the president's options. I do think he's done a good job, by the way, President Obama, in getting the Russians and the Chinese to work together to try to constrain the ability of the North Koreans to get essential nuclear materials in, or nuclear technology or weapons out of North Korea.
Ling and Yuna Lee, the two American reporters imprisoned in North Korea for over 4 months, are finally breaking their silence about their arrest this morning. CBS News correspondent Michelle Gielan reports.
The two women returned to the U.S. in early August to be reunited with their families after spending 140 days behind bars in North Korea. Former President Bill Clinton traveled to North Korea to win their freedom. In the new article posted Tuesday on Current TV's website, Ling and Lee said that when they set out onto a frozen river, they never intended to cross the border from China into North Korea. But they admitted that when their guide told them to follow him, quote, beyond the middle of the river, we did, eventually arriving at the riverbank on the North Korean side. They quickly turned back, and they say they were, quote, firmly back inside China when the soldiers apprehended us. Ling and Lee say, to this day, we still don't know if we were lured into a trap. The journalists say that some parts of their captivity are too painful to talk about publicly, but their experiences, quote, pale when compared to the hardship facing so many people living in North Korea. Ling and Lee released a video last month to thank people who had demanded their release.
To all of the people who supported Yuna and me throughout the nearly 5 months that we were in captivity, we wanted to thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Was you able to say how she was treated there? Was she treated well?
You know what? We haven't really even gotten a chance to talk to. I mean, we were just pretty emotional in the car, so we're going to go have a little powwow at home and just kind of enjoy each other, love on each other.
Lisa, how's she feeling? How's her health?
How's she feeling?
She's a little bit weak. She's lost a lot of weight, as you can probably tell. So we're just gonna stuff her with food that she loves. So we're just gonna stuff her with food that she loves and just love on her.
Hi, I'm Laura Ling.
And I'm Lisa Ling.
And we're the authors of Somewhere Inside. Somewhere Inside is a story about the nearly 5 months that I spent in captivity in North Korea, my experience there and some of the people I met. It was the most harrowing time of my life. There were days when I didn't know if I would get out alive. But it's also about the glimmers of humanity that I experienced and the people there who encouraged me to have hope. And it's about Lisa's efforts to bring my colleague Yuna Lee and me home.
Most people know that North Korea is considered one of the most isolated places on the planet, but when your sister is also your best friend, there's nothing you won't do to try and bring her home. To do that, I reached out to the highest levels of government, from governors to the State Department to the White House. But we weren't dealing with a normal government in North Korea. I mean, we had to proceed ultra cautiously because there's really no government like it.
What many people may not realize is that our relationship, the two of us, became essentially a channel of communication for the North Korean government to send messages back to the United States. The two of us became essentially a channel of communication for the North Korean government to send messages back to the United States. The two of us became essentially a channel of communication for the North Korean government to send messages back to the United States. And it's really this special bond that we have as sisters that helped get us through the ultimate nightmare of our lives.
Somewhere inside, really, I mean, it's about Laura's ordeal in North Korea, the diplomatic efforts to get her out, and ultimately the bonds of sisterhood.
Hi AAJA, I'm Laura Ling.
And I'm Lisa Ling, and we're so sorry we can't be with you at the convention in Boston.
We had just a little bit of catching up to do this week. But I wanted to thank you all personally, thank the AAJA community for all of your love, your positive energy, and the hard work that went into bringing me and Yuna Lee home. I am so, so eternally grateful and thankful and humbled by this experience.
Yeah, over the last couple of days, we've had a chance to really download on Laura and tell her about this incredible grassroots movement that was ignited all over the country to support her and Yuna, and in particular AAJA and organizations like the Committee to Protect Journalists and Reporters Without Borders. You all really became a voice for us. The situation was so sensitive between our country and North Korea, and our families had to be so careful, and you really became the voice that we couldn't be, and for that we are just so deeply grateful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a great convention.
Working as a journalist and international reporter.
They're trying to restore control, restore order. You can see the bullet casings right here.
I think that I have tried hard to shine a light on issues that need the world's attention. In March of 2009, I traveled to northeastern China to report on a story about North Korean defectors. And it was while we were filming along the frozen Tumen River that we were chased down by North Korean soldiers. Everything just happened so quickly. I was eventually knocked unconscious and dragged into North Korea. It was the scariest time of my life. I was isolated in what is perhaps the most isolated country in the world. It was very easy for these dark thoughts to invade my mind and spiral me into a depression. I thought that I had failed the North Korean refugees that I had gone to cover. I felt that I had failed my family. I did know about various vigils that were taking place for us across the country and in other parts of the world. In very dark moments, I would think about those lights. Seconds there seemed like an eternity. But there was something that I began to do that helped me get through each day. And it was a very simple act. It was practicing the act of gratitude.
Bullshit!
And I just started doing it one day where I was sitting down and I thought to myself, Laura, think about something that happened today that you can actually feel grateful for, despite this horrible situation that you're in. And so I would say to myself, for example, I feel lucky I saw a butterfly outside my window. I feel lucky I saw a butterfly outside my window. I feel lucky I saw a butterfly outside my window, even though I can't breathe the fresh air. I feel grateful that I got to go outside for a few moments and see the sun and feel the warmth on my skin. I feel lucky I saw a butterfly outside my window. Getting letters from my family, I memorized each and every word.
Bullshit!
Doing this definitely was a turning point for me mentally. I think that there was a point where I was only thinking about the negative possibilities, that I wouldn't see my family again, that I wouldn't ever have children, that I would spend the rest of my life in that country. But being able to focus on some of those glimmers of light really did help give me the strength to look at each new day as a new possibility. After I came home, I actually continued to practice this act of gratitude. And it's a ritual that I do to this day. And I do it as a reminder of the things that are important in my life. Things that I want to cherish and treasure. Because this ritual had such an impact on me and who I am today, I want to explore the rituals of other people, to understand and learn about these practices that have helped others get through their struggles and obstacles and have really helped define who they are. And so I hope that this series is this inspirational look into what drives the human spirit.
Last year, journalists Laura Ling and Yuna Lee were working on a documentary along the border between China and North Korea when they were taken prisoner by North Korean soldiers. Laura faced a 12-year prison sentence and brutal treatment from her captors. But here in the United States, her sister Lisa was frantically working to get her out, which meant learning the art of diplomacy with one of the world's most isolated countries. The sisters have released a new book called Somewhere Inside, one sister's captivity in North Korea and the other sister's fight to bring her home. Laura Ling joins me now from Los Angeles. Laura, thanks for being here. I thought we would just start. It's really great to have you. I thought if we could, I'd love for you to just to take us back to that day. It was March 17th, I think, 2009. You were filming a documentary about, I think, North Korean defectors. What happened when the North Korean soldiers came upon you? What happened when the North Korean soldiers came upon you? I came. That's right. Well, we were at the Tumen River that borders China and North Korea, and we were there. There was never any plan or intention to cross the river. We were there to film this thoroughfare where North Koreans are using to escape the very brutal conditions in their homeland. We were with a local guide, a fixer, and foreign journalists often hire guides who have worked with media in the past to help them. And our guide was on the frozen river, and he continued to walk closer and closer to the other side, the North Korean side. He motioned for us to follow him, and we did. We ended up on the North Korean soil, and he pointed out a village off in the distance where he said there were some safe houses. Well, Jan, we knew that we needed to leave. This was not a place where we should be. We headed back across the frozen river to China, and that's when two North Korean soldiers started yelling with their rifles raised, chased us back onto Chinese soil, surrounded Yuna Lee and me, and then were intent on taking us back to North Korea. They dragged us quite violently across to the other side, and when I was struck by the butt of the soldier's rifle, and I blacked out as he was dragging me. Well, when I came to, I was in North Korea, and I felt like I had just entered an alien planet. And I mean, was this all just very surreal? Did you have the complete terror, or did it all seem like this cannot be happening to me?